Are you playing it safe? Are you waiting for the perfect moment to act? Well, the truth is, life doesn't reward those who hesitate. It rewards those who take action, who step into the unknown with confidence, even when they're unsure of what's next. Boldness is the key to unlocking your true potential. If you're not willing to take risks, if you're not willing to make moves even when things seem uncertain, then how do you expect to achieve anything great? Success doesn't just fall into your lap. It's for those who go after it, who embrace the challenges, and who keep going even when the path isn't clear. Are you ready to stop waiting and start moving? The rewards are for those who act boldly, the ones who push through their fears and take control of their future. Stay tuned to learn how bold actions can change everything for you. Number 1. Bold decisions. Create bold results. That's not just a catchy idea, that's how real change happens in your life. That's how the chapter shifts. That's how the average becomes exceptional. When you're willing to move forward with courage, even if you're trembling a little, that's when life starts rewarding you. Think about the moments in your life when you made a real decision. I mean a serious one. The kind where you didn't have all the answers yet, but you knew something had to change. Maybe you left a job that wasn't going anywhere. Maybe you stood up for yourself for the first time. Maybe you chose to pursue something difficult instead of settling for something comfortable. Those were bold decisions, and they changed something, didn't they? See, the bold don't wait for permission. They don't sit around waiting for the conditions to be perfect. They don't wait for approval. They move, they risk, and they grow because of it. The truth is, most people are stuck in a loop of hesitation. They overthink. They second guess. They talk themselves out of action. Bold people, they move even while they're unsure. They decide, they act. They trust that motion will reveal the rest of the map. You want a different life? You want to see something extraordinary happen? Then start making extraordinary decisions. Not reckless ones, not emotional ones, but bold, strategic, thought-out decisions that say, I'm not settling, I'm not shrinking, I'm not staying where I am. Here's something to understand clearly. Bold doesn't mean loud. It doesn't mean aggressive. Bold means you are honest about what you want, and you are serious about going after it. It means you are clear about your values and unafraid to live by them. It means you will not allow fear to dictate the direction of your life. Fear is real. Everyone feels it. Bold people just don't let it drive. They use it as a signal. If it scares them, it probably matters. If it shakes them, it's probably worth it. They lean in, they say, this makes me uncomfortable, but I'm not here to stay comfortable. I'm here to grow. And growth never happens in your comfort zone. You've heard that before. Not as a slogan, but as a fact. Comfort is where dreams decay. Growth is where discomfort begins. And if you can build a habit of choosing growth, if you can build the muscle to act even when you're nervous, life starts opening doors for you that never even existed before. But here's the catch. Life doesn't reward the bold instantly. It's not magic. You don't make one bold move, and then suddenly everything changes. That's fantasy. Life rewards consistency. Life rewards the bold who stay bold, the ones who keep showing up when it's not working yet, the ones who keep trying after rejection, who get up after embarrassment, who keep pushing even when it's easier to quit. Because the truth is, bold decisions will test you. They will bring resistance. You might lose people. You might lose your old identity. You might lose comfort, convenience, and even temporary praise. But you gain power. You gain self-respect. You gain a future that wasn't even possible from your old decisions. So what's keeping most people from boldness? It's not just fear. It's the fear of being alone, the fear of being wrong, the fear of failing publicly. But listen, you can fail privately in your comfort zone too. You can lose everything even while playing it safe. So if failure is a possibility no matter what, wouldn't you rather fail at something meaningful? Wouldn't you rather take a shot at something real? There's something incredible that happens when you start making bold choices. You stop waiting. You stop blaming. You stop depending on the world to hand you anything. You start becoming someone new. You start becoming someone who owns their life fully. And from that kind of person, results can't help but show up. Don't just sit there wondering, what if I had taken that chance? There are people who spend their entire lives haunted by that question. What if I had spoken up? What if I had moved cities? What if I had applied for that position, started that business, left that toxic relationship, gone after that goal, finally backed myself? You're not here to wonder what could have been. You're here to become what can be. Through courage, through clarity, through action. If your current life feels small, it's not because life is unfair. It's because your decisions haven't matched your potential yet. You were not built for smallness. You weren't made for regret. You were made to push limits, to make real decisions that reflect your purpose and values. Boldness isn't a one-time act. It's a lifestyle. It's a daily posture. It's waking up and saying, I don't know how this will go, but I will not back down today. So many people think they need more motivation. What they need is more responsibility. When you see yourself as responsible for your results, your choices change. When you stop waiting for a break and become the break, your confidence builds, your belief strengthens, and your life starts bending in your direction. I've seen it over and over. The ones who win, they're not always the smartest. They're not always the most talented. They are just the ones who moved. They are the ones who said, I'm scared, but I'm still in. They acted, and in doing so, they created their own momentum. You have that same option today. You don't need a full plan. You just need to move. You don't need everything to make sense. You need to trust that clarity follows courage, not the other way around. You need to prove to yourself that you can handle rejection, handle failure, handle change, and that you're still standing. Boldness makes you unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And once you see what you're made of, there's no going back to the version of you that waited for things to happen. Remember this, bold decisions create bold results. That's not philosophy, that's reality. If you want a different life, then stop waiting and start choosing. Be the kind of person who makes bold moves on purpose, not out of impulse, not out of panic, but out of vision. Because the world isn't changed by the hesitant. It's changed by the ones who were willing to walk forward even when the path wasn't clear. If you want your life to change, then don't just wish for it. Walk toward it. The bold aren't lucky. The bold are just willing. And life loves people who are willing. Life rewards the ones who show up for it. Number 2. Step out of your comfort zone. Most people never truly live because they never leave what's familiar. They wake up in the same place, think the same thoughts, do the same tasks, follow the same patterns, and wonder why nothing feels exciting anymore. Comfort becomes a trap. It feels safe, but it's silently stealing your potential. If your life feels like it's on repeat, it's not bad luck. It's the result of staying where you've always been, mentally and physically. The comfort zone is a liar. It tells you that everything is fine, that you're doing enough, that there's no need to push. But deep down, you know when you're stuck. You know when you're just going through the motions. You know when you're not being challenged. And here's the thing. If you're not being challenged, you're not changing. If you're not growing, you're shrinking. Growth only happens when you're willing to feel discomfort. That's the price. There's no growth without struggle. Every time you step outside what you know, you grow. When you try something new, when you speak up, when you take on more responsibility, when you put yourself in situations where you might fail, that's where progress lives. Real progress never lives in comfort. The people who win at life don't always have more talent. What they have is a different standard. They're not satisfied with being average. They're not afraid to look awkward while they learn. They're willing to stretch, to sweat, to be the beginner, to risk being uncomfortable. Because they know it's better to be uncomfortable now than to regret later. And regret is a heavy thing. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It builds slowly. You start by playing it safe. And before you know it, years pass, and nothing's different. You can always find excuses. You can always delay. But the truth is, the longer you stay where it's easy, the harder it becomes to leave. You build walls with your routines. You build limits with your fear. And eventually, your comfort zone becomes your prison. If you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. That's not just a quote. That's the formula. New results come from new behavior. If your life is predictable, it's because your actions are predictable. Want new outcomes? Then you've got to be willing to feel the fear, feel the uncertainty, and move forward anyway. Start with something small. Speak when you usually stay silent. Say yes when you usually say no. Go left when you always go right. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It has to be intentional. Every step outside your comfort zone is a message to your brain that says, we're not stuck. We're not frozen. We're capable of more. Your brain's job is to keep you alive, not to help you thrive. That's why it clings to comfort, to protect you. But survival isn't the same as success. And you didn't come this far just to survive. You came to expand, to become, to evolve. And that only happens when you choose growth over ease. Growth is messy. It's not a straight line. You'll feel awkward. You'll doubt yourself. You'll face setbacks. But each time you keep going, you gain strength. Each time you do something difficult, your confidence builds. You stop needing validation. You stop waiting for someone to tell you you're ready. You realize that readiness is something you earn by stepping forward before you feel prepared. You'll never feel fully ready. That's the truth. Everyone is figuring it out. Everyone has doubts. The people who move ahead just stop using fear as a reason to stay behind. They take the fear with them and keep going. That's bravery. Not absence of fear, but forward motion in spite of it. Most of what you're afraid of isn't dangerous. It's just unfamiliar. Your mind makes it feel big. It plays worst-case scenarios. It says, what if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if you don't make it? But what if you do make it? What if stepping outside your comfort zone leads you to the exact life you've been dreaming of? What if all the best things are waiting for you on the other side of discomfort? You'll never know until you move. You'll never see your own power until you're tested. Some people spend their whole lives planning and preparing, but never acting. Preparation is useful, but it's not a substitute for movement. At some point, you have to decide to try. You have to choose action over safety. The comfort zone might feel peaceful, but it breeds complacency. And complacency is the silent killer of dreams. It doesn't destroy things overnight. It just keeps you numb, keeps you inactive, keeps you small. The worst part, you don't even realize how much you've settled until it's too late. You get so used to the routine that you forget there's more to life. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to be perfect. What you need is the courage to begin. The courage to risk being seen trying. The courage to face discomfort, knowing that it means you're becoming someone stronger. Discomfort is feedback. It's the sign that you're doing something worthwhile. Stop treating it like a warning. Start treating it like a guide. If it feels hard, that means you're growing. If it feels uncomfortable, that means you're on the right path. Because comfort never made anyone extraordinary. You know what you want. You've known it for a long time. But you've let fear whisper excuses. You've convinced yourself to wait. But time won't wait. Opportunity won't wait. And life certainly won't wait. So stop stalling. Stop negotiating with fear. Start stepping forward. Even if it's shaky. Even if it's slow. One step becomes two. Two becomes a habit. A habit becomes a new identity. And that identity becomes the future you actually deserve. A future where you're not limited by who you used to be. A future where you've proven to yourself that you can rise above comfort. There will always be voices telling you to stay safe, but your future self is calling too. Asking you to rise, to move, to stretch. Which voice will you listen to? The one that wants to protect your current comfort, or the one that wants to unlock your true potential? This life, your one life, is too valuable to be lived inside invisible walls. Break them. Step out. Breathe new air. Try something that scares you. Sign up. Speak out. Show up. Do it while your heart pounds. Do it before you feel ready. Do it because you know staying stuck is no longer an option. You don't grow by chance. You grow by choice. And every time you choose discomfort over stagnation, you choose a better life, a bolder life, a real life. That's how it starts. That's how change begins. Not with certainty, not with guarantees, but with the decision to move, even when it's uncomfortable. So step out, not later, not someday, now. Number 3. Fear of failure keeps you stuck. Act anyway. Failure scares people. It keeps them from starting. It convinces them to stay where they are instead of going after what they truly want. It makes them freeze when they should move. That fear is powerful, not because it's real, but because it's loud. It speaks in your mind every time you think about trying something new. It reminds you of what could go wrong. It magnifies the risk. It paints worst-case scenarios like they're facts. And if you listen to it long enough, you begin to believe that standing still is safer than stepping forward. But the truth is, standing still is the riskiest move you can make. When you let fear stop you, you lose more than just the opportunity. You lose time, confidence, and progress. You stay stuck, not because you're not capable, but because you're convinced you might not make it. You don't even give yourself a chance. That's not protecting yourself. That's sabotaging yourself in advance. Fear of failure is common. It's part of being human. No one wants to fall short. No one enjoys making mistakes. No one likes to feel exposed or judged, but those experiences are part of growth. They shape you. They show you where you need to improve. And most importantly, they prove that you were brave enough to try. Because trying, especially when you're afraid, is a victory in itself. You don't beat fear by avoiding it. You beat fear by acting in spite of it. You don't wait for the fear to disappear. You move through it. You take the step with your hands shaking. You do the thing while your heart is racing. You speak when your voice trembles. And the more you act, the quieter the fear becomes. When you avoid failure, you also avoid success. Because the path to winning includes setbacks. There's no version of greatness that doesn't include a few wrong turns, a few embarrassments, a few moments that didn't work out. The people you admire, they failed more than most. That's why they're where they are. They acted anyway. They didn't wait to feel completely sure. They didn't expect everything to work on the first try. They kept moving. You might fail. That's the truth. You might mess up. You might fall short. You might not get it right the first, second, or even third time. But if you let that stop you, then you never give yourself the chance to get better. And that's the tragedy, not the failure, but the surrender. What if you saw failure as part of the process, not the end of the road? What if you understood that failure doesn't mean you're not good enough? It just means you're learning. Every mistake teaches. Every setback builds grit. Every rejection builds resilience. That's how you grow into someone stronger than you were before. Too many people wait for certainty. They want guarantees before they act. But the only guarantee is this: if you don't try, nothing changes. If you wait for perfect timing, you'll be waiting forever. If you wait until you're not scared, you'll still be standing in the same place 10 years from now. Progress demands action, not perfection. You don't have to leap. You just have to move. Even a small action breaks the cycle of fear. Fear feeds on delay. The longer you wait, the bigger it grows. But when you do something, anything, you weaken its grip. You prove to yourself that you can act even while afraid. And that belief, it compounds. It builds. It becomes the foundation for a life led with courage. There will be people who doubt you. There will be people who criticize when you try. That's not a reason to stop. That's a reason to continue. Because every bold move you make reminds others that they could be doing the same. Some will support you. Some won't. But either way, you're the one growing. You're the one evolving. You're the one building something real. It's easy to stay small. It's easy to keep things predictable. It's easy to pretend that comfort is the goal. But deep down, you know better. You know you're meant for more. You know you have ideas you haven't acted on. You have dreams you've pushed aside. And the only thing standing in the way? Fear. That fear isn't proof that you shouldn't try. It's proof that you care. It's proof that this matters to you. The goal isn't to eliminate fear. The goal is to stop letting it decide. You can be afraid and still move. You can be unsure and still begin. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to take the first step. Most of the time, what we fear isn't even real. It's imagined. It's exaggerated. It's based on things that haven't happened and probably won't. And even if the worst did happen, you'd survive. You'd learn. You'd adjust. And you'd come back smarter, stronger, wiser. The strongest people aren't fearless. They're just practiced. They've failed. And they've come back. They've been doubted. And they've shown up anyway. They've faced fear so many times that it stopped feeling like a wall and started feeling like a signpost. A reminder that they're heading in the right direction. What would your life look like if you stopped waiting? If you stopped hiding? If you stopped letting fear dictate your choices? What would happen if you acted today? Not next week, not next year, but now. You'd feel alive. You'd feel momentum. You'd feel pride. Not because everything went perfectly, but because you finally did something different. You finally gave yourself permission to act, to try, to grow. You don't have to go big, but you do have to go. Take the course. Ask the question. Make the call. Share the idea. Start the journey. You'll figure it out along the way. You'll adapt. You'll learn what works and what doesn't. But you'll never discover any of that if you keep letting fear talk you out of it. Life won't reward you for what you intended to do. It rewards what you actually do. Bold action matters more than good intentions. Courageous effort beats perfect plans. Forward motion changes everything. So act. Not because you're fearless, but because you're tired of being stuck. Because you want a life that's not shaped by hesitation. Because deep down you know that fear doesn't deserve the final word. You do. Number 4. Opportunities are for those who take action. Opportunities don't wait. They don't sit around hoping someone notices. They show up quietly, pass by quickly, and only reveal their value to those who act. That's how life works. It favors the movers. It rewards the doers. Not the ones who talk the most. Not the ones with the best excuses. Not the ones with the most potential. But the ones who step up and do something about it. Most people live with the illusion that opportunity will knock on their door one day, loudly and clearly. And that when it does, they'll be ready. But that's not how it happens. Opportunities don't show up with fanfare. They're hidden inside challenges. Disguised in moments that seem ordinary. You only recognize them when you've trained yourself to take action. Even when the path isn't clear. You earn opportunities by preparing for them and stepping toward them without waiting to be invited. You see someone succeed, and it looks like luck. But if you look closer, you'll find a pattern of action. They were willing to move, to decide, to try. Long before they were certain. They weren't guaranteed anything. They took initiative. They bet on themselves. They said yes when others hesitated. They leaned in while everyone else leaned back. That's why they caught the wave. That's why the door opened. Opportunities don't stick around. You either take them or someone else does. And once they're gone, they usually don't come back the same way. You can't delay forever and expect life to wait. The longer you hesitate, the harder it gets. Because while you're stuck in doubt, someone else is already taking your place. They're learning. They're gaining ground. They're building what you're only thinking about. This isn't about competition with others. It's about accountability to yourself. You know what you want. You've dreamed about it. You've imagined how things could be different. But imagination isn't enough. Nothing changes until you move. Ideas don't turn into reality without effort. Ambition means nothing without execution. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with action. And you don't need everything to be perfect before you act. In fact, if you wait for perfect conditions, you'll never move. The weather won't always be ideal. The timing won't always feel right. You might not feel ready. But the truth is, most progress is made when you decide to act despite the imperfections. When you stop needing guarantees and start relying on your own commitment. There are opportunities all around you. Right now, in this moment, but most people are too distracted, too passive, too unsure to notice. They wait for signs, wait for instructions, wait for someone to give them permission. But life doesn't hand success to those who wait. It gives it to those who chase, to those who build, to those who say, I'm not waiting anymore. Taking action doesn't mean you won't make mistakes. It doesn't mean everything will go smoothly. But it does mean you'll learn. You'll grow. You'll get closer to where you want to be. And more importantly, you'll gain momentum. Something thinking alone can never give you. Momentum is a powerful thing. Once you start moving, even small wins start to build. You feel more capable. You become more focused. You attract more opportunities because you're in motion. People want to work with people who move. Doors open for those already walking toward them. Waiting is easy. Taking action is uncomfortable. That's why most people choose to wait. They convince themselves that they're being smart, that they're planning, preparing, but what they're really doing is hiding, avoiding, playing it safe. And in doing so, they miss the moment. Every big change starts with a small act of courage, a decision to speak up, a choice to apply, a step into the unknown. That's how it starts. One decision, then another. And each one adds up until one day you realize you're living the life you once only talked about. Opportunities don't look the same for everyone, but they all have one thing in common. They require action. You can't just want it. You have to move toward it. You have to do the uncomfortable thing, the inconvenient thing, the thing you've been putting off, because that's where growth is. That's where breakthroughs happen. You don't have to wait until you're confident. Confidence comes from doing, not the other way around. The more you act, the more you build belief in yourself. And the more belief you build, the more bold decisions you can make. That's the cycle. That's how you shift from stuck to unstoppable. Your current circumstances might not be ideal. You might not have all the resources you think you need, but you have something even more powerful. The ability to decide, to choose, to take a step right now. And that single choice can start a chain reaction that changes everything. Nobody is going to do it for you. No one is coming to push you. No one owes you an opportunity. You have to show up. You have to prove you're serious. Not just once, consistently. You have to develop the habit of action, of doing the thing even when it's hard, even when it's boring, even when it's scary. That's how winners are made. Not by talent, not by luck, but by disciplined action, day after day. Every excuse you give is just time wasted. Every delay is a step backward. And you know that. You feel it. The weight of not starting is heavier than the fear of failing. You think you're protecting yourself by not acting, but what you're really doing is shrinking your world. You're choosing comfort over creation. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to stop waiting for something magical to happen. Take the idea and make it real. Take the first step and commit to the next. Start messy. Start small. But start. You are not too late. You are not too old. You are not behind. What matters is what you do from this moment forward. There are still doors to open, paths to take, lives to impact, but only if you act. Opportunity is not a gift. It's a response. A response to those who are willing to take responsibility, to those who are willing to show up, not with talk, but with effort, with courage, with commitment. So whatever it is you've been holding back on, stop holding back. Go all in. Say yes. Take the leap. Don't just hope something changes. Be the one who changes it. Be the one who makes it happen. Because the truth is, opportunity belongs to those who act. Always has. Always will. Number 5. Don't wait for perfection. Start now. Waiting for perfection is the most convincing way to stay exactly where you are. You tell yourself it's not the right time, that you're not ready yet, that once you learn a little more, once things settle down, once you have all the answers, then you'll begin. But days pass, months pass, years pass, and nothing changes. Because perfection is a moving target. The more you chase it, the further it moves. It's not a standard, it's a distraction. A delay disguised as preparation. You don't need perfect conditions to begin. You don't need the best tools, the full plan, or the applause of others. You need one thing: the willingness to start with what you have, the readiness to work with what's available, the decision to move even if your hands are shaking and your voice isn't steady. That's what real progress looks like. Not flawless, but forward. Perfection is an illusion. It doesn't exist in reality. Everything you admire started out rough. The best-selling books had messy drafts. The greatest athletes began as awkward amateurs. The successful business owners had failures before their wins. They didn't wait to be great. They started, they stumbled, they refined, they learned by doing. They gained confidence through action, and over time, they became what they had the courage to begin. If you keep waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting for the rest of your life. Readiness isn't something you find, it's something you earn. You earn it by doing the thing over and over until your fear starts to fade and your belief begins to grow. And that belief comes from proving to yourself that you're not controlled by fear, doubt, or perfectionism. The idea that you'll wake up one day completely ready is fiction. Readiness comes in layers. You start, and the first layer appears. You push through resistance, and another layer shows up. Every action builds strength. Every mistake teaches. Every setback toughens your resolve. But none of that can happen if you keep sitting on the sidelines, convincing yourself you'll jump in when everything is aligned. Perfection is safe, it's tidy, it's controlled. But growth is wild. It's unpredictable. It's messy, and that's why it works. Growth demands that you let go of the fantasy of perfect and embrace the reality of effort. It asks you to trust the process, not the outcome. It asks you to stay committed, even when it's inconvenient, uncomfortable, or uncertain. The pursuit of perfection creates paralysis. You become obsessed with details that don't matter. You spend hours tweaking, planning, overthinking, and not moving. You tell yourself it's progress, but it's just procrastination dressed in productivity. Real progress is measured in steps, not strategies. It's in what you do, not what you intend to do. You can always adjust along the way. You can improve. You can fix. You can evolve. But none of that happens without a beginning. The fear of starting small holds people back. They think starting small means thinking small, but starting small is the only way anything meaningful ever begins. You plant a seed, not a tree. You build a brick, not a mansion. You take one step, not the whole journey. Start where you are. Use what you've got. Do what you can. Your beginning doesn't have to be impressive. It just has to be real. Because once you begin, you've already separated yourself from the millions who only talking about a goal isn't the same as pursuing one. Thinking about change isn't the same as choosing it. You'll make mistakes. You'll face challenges. You'll question yourself. But you'll also grow in ways you can't predict. You'll meet people. You'll discover strengths. You'll unlock new versions of yourself. And none of that is possible if you stay stuck in the fantasy of someday. There's no ideal time. There's only now. The clock is ticking whether you act or not. Every day you delay, you're feeding the habit of hesitation. You're reinforcing the belief that you're not ready. But when you move even just a little, you begin to rewrite that story. You prove to yourself that motion is always better than perfection. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need every detail figured out. All you need is the guts to begin. To look at the mountain and take the first step anyway. To stop obsessing about the summit and start walking. The view doesn't come from standing still. It comes from climbing, stumbling, catching your breath, and continuing. The people who win in life aren't the ones who had the best start. They're the ones who started anyway. They didn't wait for validation. They didn't wait for the fear to vanish. They didn't wait until their plan was flawless. They got in the game. They made the call. They showed up. And because they started, they got better. You get better by starting. Not by sitting, not by theorizing, not by endlessly planning. You grow by doing. The longer you delay, the more intimidating it feels. But once you start, you realize it's not as scary as it seemed. You realize you're more capable than you gave yourself credit for. You'll never feel like you have it all together. You'll always be learning. And that's okay. You're not supposed to know everything now. You're supposed to begin and learn what you need along the way. Clarity comes from action. Direction comes from movement. Certainty comes from doing. You're not behind. You're not disqualified. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be to begin. All that's missing is your decision. Not your tools, not your talent. Your choice. The choice to act, even if it's uncomfortable. The choice to try, even if it's not guaranteed. The choice to go, even if it's not perfect. So don't wait. Don't keep polishing an idea you've never launched. Don't keep telling yourself next month, next year, next time. The time is now. The world doesn't need a perfect version of your work. It needs your action. It needs your progress. It needs your movement. Your dream doesn't need more thought. It needs your courage. Your path doesn't need perfection. It needs your decision. Decide to begin. Decide to make the first move. Decide to stop letting perfection sit in the driver's seat of your life. Because the truth is, perfection is not the goal. Progress is. And progress only begins when you do. So start now. Number 6. Taking risks is the path to growth. Taking risks isn't just an option for growth. It's the foundation of it. Growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It doesn't happen in the predictable, safe spaces where you know exactly what to expect. True growth happens when you step into the unknown, when you push yourself beyond the limits of what you already know, and when you take a chance on yourself and your future. Risk is often viewed through a negative lens, like it's something to avoid at all costs. But think about this. Nothing worth achieving comes without some level of risk. The risk isn't a sign to turn back. It's a signal that you're on the verge of something important. Whether you're considering a new job, starting a business, speaking in public, or even just trying something new, the fear that accompanies the risk is a clue. It means you're about to grow. It means you're moving closer to your potential. People love security. It's human nature. We want to know what's coming. We want control over the situation, but life doesn't work that way. The most successful, fulfilled, and impactful people didn't get to where they are by playing it safe. They didn't get there by sticking to what they already knew. They got there by doing what others weren't willing to do, by taking risks. Think about the most successful figures in history. They didn't sit around waiting for the perfect conditions. They took chances, and through those risks, they grew. They failed. They got up. They tried again. And with each failure, they grew stronger, smarter, and more resilient. The risks were part of their evolution, not a roadblock. It's easy to stay in a comfortable place, to stay in a situation where you know exactly what's going to happen next. But in doing so, you limit your potential. You stay stuck in a loop of stagnation, constantly wondering what if while the world around you changes and evolves. And you know what? Life isn't waiting for you to catch up. It's moving on, whether you're in it or not. Risk is a teacher. It reveals things about you that you never would have discovered if you stayed in your safe bubble. Every time you take a risk, you learn something new. Maybe you find out that you're stronger than you thought. Maybe you realize that the fear you felt was just a feeling, not a real threat. Maybe you discover new strengths, new talents, or new opportunities you didn't know existed. But none of this happens unless you take that first step into uncertainty. Taking risks isn't about being reckless. It's about making calculated decisions that will push you forward. It's about weighing the potential rewards against the potential consequences and deciding that you're willing to make the leap anyway. It's knowing that the worst-case scenario is often not as bad as you think, and the best-case scenario is more than worth the effort. The truth is, staying where you are, even if it's comfortable, is far riskier than trying something new. Because when you don't take risks, you're essentially deciding to accept what life gives you without question. You're saying, I'm not going to challenge myself. I'm not going to push for more. I'm not going to test my limits. And that is a risk in itself. The risk of wasting potential, the risk of living a life that's smaller than it could be. It's easy to think that everyone around you has it all figured out. But the truth is, most people are also living with the same fears, the same doubts, and the same concerns. The only difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is their willingness to take action despite the fear. They take risks, not because they aren't afraid, but because they are willing to fail in order to grow. Failure isn't the end, it's just a part of the process. Every time you take a risk and fail, you gain experience. You figure out what works and what doesn't. You understand yourself better, and the next time you take a risk, you'll be better equipped to handle it. Failure isn't a sign to stop, it's an invitation to adjust and try again. The more you risk, the more you learn, and the more you grow. The thing about risk is that it's always easier to regret not trying than it is to regret failing. When you play it safe, you never know what could have been. But when you take risks, you open doors. You create opportunities. You put yourself in a position where anything is possible. Even if you fall short, at least you'll know you gave it everything you had. It's the people who risk everything who get everything. That's the simple truth. If you want a life of mediocrity, then don't take risks. But if you want a life that's extraordinary, one filled with challenges, growth, and rewards, then you have to be willing to take those risks. You have to be willing to step into the unknown and trust that you can handle whatever comes your way. You won't always get it right. There will be times when you fall flat on your face, but those moments are the ones that make the victory so much sweeter. Because when you take a risk and succeed, you've not only proven to the world that you're capable, but you've proven it to yourself. And that's when the real magic happens. You discover what you're made of. You realize that you can handle anything life throws your way, and you become unstoppable. Taking risks requires courage, but it's also an act of self-love. It's deciding that you're worth the challenge. It's deciding that you believe in your own potential enough to take the first step, even if you can't see the whole staircase. Because the truth is, no one ever sees the whole staircase. You can only take one step at a time. So if you're standing at the edge of something, if you're looking at a chance to do something different, to try something new, to challenge yourself, don't hesitate. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for everything to line up perfectly, because it never will. The perfect moment is always right now, and the only thing standing between you and your growth is your willingness to take that risk. Number 7. Life won't reward you for playing it safe. Playing it safe may feel comfortable, but it won't get you anywhere remarkable. The truth is, life doesn't reward you for staying in your comfort zone. It doesn't reward you for playing small. It doesn't give out prizes for avoiding risk and playing by the rules. Life rewards those who step out, those who dare, those who take chances, the ones who push beyond the limits of what's easy and familiar. The world doesn't care about your comfort. The world isn't sitting around waiting for you to feel ready, to feel secure, or to feel perfect. It's moving forward, constantly changing, constantly evolving, and it rewards the people who are moving with it. It rewards those who step up and take action, those who aren't afraid to fail and learn from their mistakes. When you play it safe, you're telling life, I don't trust myself enough to take a chance. You're holding yourself back, waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. You're setting your potential aside because you're afraid of what might happen. But here's the hard truth. Staying in your comfort zone isn't protecting you, it's keeping you stuck. It's keeping you from becoming the person you were meant to be. Think about the greatest achievements, the innovations, the breakthroughs. They didn't come from people who played it safe. They came from the ones who took risks, the ones who challenged the status quo, the ones who looked at the world and said, there's a better way, and I'm going to make it happen even if I fail along the way. Those are the people who get rewarded, because they create change, they create progress. When you stay in your safe little bubble, you're not learning anything new, you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're just maintaining the status quo. And the status quo isn't good enough. Not if you want to live a life full of purpose, excitement, and real fulfillment. The status quo will never make you feel alive. It'll make you feel stuck. It'll make you feel like you're wasting your time, your potential, and your energy. Life has a funny way of giving you exactly what you ask for, but it doesn't give you what you want without making you earn it. Life doesn't just hand out rewards for showing up and playing it safe. The rewards go to those who take risks, those who push past fear, and those who choose growth over comfort. You can't be afraid of failure, of making mistakes, of feeling uncertain. Because that's where the magic is. That's where the lessons are. That's where the growth happens. If you're not willing to risk anything, you're not willing to grow. And if you're not willing to grow, you're not going to create the life you want. You'll live the same year, over and over again, expecting different results. But you'll get the same thing every time. That's the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you want different results, you have to try something different. You have to take a risk. You have to step outside what feels comfortable and take action. Life doesn't reward the cautious. Life doesn't reward the ones who hide behind their fears and doubts. Life rewards those who take a stand, who challenge themselves, who make things happen, even when they don't have it all figured out. It rewards the risk takers, the people who aren't afraid to put themselves out there, even if it means facing rejection, failure, or embarrassment. Every single success story you admire started with someone taking a risk. Every person you look up to took chances, some small, some massive, but they all took risks. The people who made a difference didn't sit back and wait for their dreams to come to them. They got up, they moved forward, and they went after what they wanted. They took action, even when it was scary. Even when they didn't have all the answers, they didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the perfect moment. They just took the leap. And guess what? It wasn't always easy. They fell. They failed. They got knocked down. But they didn't stay down. They got back up, learned from their mistakes, and kept going. They knew that failure wasn't the end. It was just part of the journey. It was part of the process. And through that process, they grew stronger, smarter, and more determined. They understood that the reward wasn't just in the achievement, but in the person they became along the way. You have that same potential inside of you. You have the ability to take risks and step outside your comfort zone. You have the strength to go after what you want, even if it feels scary, even if it feels uncertain. But you have to take that first step. You have to make the decision to stop playing it safe and start playing the game of life with everything you've got. You have to decide that you're willing to face your fears, your doubts, and your insecurities, and still move forward anyway. The people who achieve greatness are the ones who dare to fail, the ones who aren't afraid of looking foolish, of stumbling along the way, because they know that failure is just a stepping stone to success. It's part of the process. It's not the end of the road, but the beginning of the next chapter. And they understand that if they want something extraordinary, they have to be willing to take the risks that come with it. The reward doesn't come from playing it safe. The reward comes from doing the thing you're afraid of. The reward comes from stepping into the unknown and finding your way through it. The reward comes from challenging yourself, pushing yourself, and growing in ways you never thought possible. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for everything to be aligned. The perfect moment doesn't exist. The only moment that matters is now. And if you want to live a life that's full of purpose, excitement, and fulfillment, then you have to take action. You have to take the risks. You have to step outside what's comfortable. Because life won't reward you for playing it safe. It will reward you for daring to take a chance, for going after what you want, for pushing past the fear and embracing the journey. Don't let fear keep you from taking the leap. Don't let doubt hold you back. You have what it takes. You have the strength. You have the courage. All you need to do is take that first step and then keep moving forward, no matter what. Because when you take risks, you open up a whole new world of possibilities, and that's where the magic happens. Number 8. Courage in the face of uncertainty leads to success. Success is not found in certainty. It's not about waiting until you have all the answers, all the tools, or the perfect plan. Success is found in the courage to step forward, even when you don't know what's ahead. It's found in the bravery to take action in the face of uncertainty, to keep moving forward when the path is unclear, and to trust yourself even when doubt creeps in. That is the key to success. Courage in the face of uncertainty. We live in a world that craves control. Everyone wants to know what's going to happen next. Everyone wants to feel secure. Everyone wants to be certain. But certainty isn't a guarantee. It's an illusion. Life doesn't give us a blueprint, and the future doesn't unfold neatly in front of us. If we wait for everything to be lined up perfectly, if we wait for the road to be clear, we'll be waiting forever. The truth is, There will never be a time when everything is guaranteed. There will never be a perfect moment. The only way to succeed is to act despite the unknown. The only way to move forward is to have the courage to take that first step, even when you can't see the whole staircase. Think about the times in your life when you faced uncertainty, when you were unsure of the outcome, when you didn't have all the facts, when you couldn't predict what would happen next, but you still acted. Maybe it was starting a new job, launching a business, moving to a new city, or pursuing a passion that terrified you. You didn't know how it would turn out, but you moved anyway. You trusted that by taking action, you would learn, grow, and figure it out along the way. That's courage. The ability to step into the unknown and trust the process, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's easy to hold back when things aren't certain. It's tempting to wait for everything to fall into place before you take that first step. But here's the hard truth. Waiting for certainty will keep you stuck. It will keep you in a loop of indecision and missed opportunities. The longer you wait for the perfect time, the further away success gets. Waiting for certainty means you're not moving. And in life, if you're not moving, you're standing still. You're letting fear dictate your decisions. And that's a sure way to stay where you are. The people who succeed in life aren't the ones who had all the answers. They're the ones who acted even when they didn't know the answers. They're the ones who had the courage to take that first step, even when they weren't sure where it would lead. They had the courage to face their doubts, their insecurities, and their fears, and still keep moving forward. They didn't wait for permission. They didn't wait for the perfect circumstances. They just took action. Success is built on a foundation of risk. The unknown is where all the growth happens. When you act in the face of uncertainty, you expose yourself to new experiences, new challenges, and new opportunities. You open yourself up to learning and expanding in ways you could never predict. You discover strength in yourself that you didn't know was there. You find solutions to problems you couldn't have anticipated. But none of that happens if you don't step forward. Courage is not the absence of fear or uncertainty. Courage is the willingness to move forward in spite of it. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have a foolproof plan. You don't need to wait until everything aligns perfectly. All you need is the courage to start. You need the courage to take the first step, knowing that you won't have all the answers, and that's okay. You need the courage to trust yourself, to trust that you can adapt, learn, and figure things out as you go. You don't need to know everything, you just need to move. That's how success is built. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be things you can't predict, obstacles you didn't see coming, and moments when you feel lost. But in those moments, remember that uncertainty is not a barrier, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to build resilience, to become resourceful, and to tap into your potential in ways you've never had to before. It's an opportunity to prove to yourself that you're capable of more than you ever thought. You'll never know your true capabilities if you don't take that leap into the unknown. The people who change the world, who make a difference, who build great businesses and careers, they're not waiting for certainty. They're embracing the uncertainty. They're using it to their advantage. They're taking calculated risks, making decisions, and adjusting as they go. They're constantly learning, constantly growing, constantly evolving. They know that success doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from doing everything you can with what you have and figuring out the rest as you move forward. So stop waiting. Stop holding yourself back because things aren't certain. Stop thinking that you need to have all the answers before you begin. The truth is, you won't have all the answers, and that's perfectly fine. You don't need them. What you need is the courage to act anyway. What you need is the courage to trust that, even if you don't know exactly what's ahead, you can handle it. What you need is the courage to take that first step, and then the next, and the next, until you've created the life, the career, the success that you've always dreamed of. Courage in the face of uncertainty leads to success. It's as simple as that. The more you act, despite your doubts, the more confident you'll become. The more you trust yourself, the more you'll be able to handle whatever life throws your way. Courage isn't about knowing what's going to happen next. It's about trusting that no matter what, you can handle it. It's about knowing that even in the face of uncertainty, you can keep going. And that is where success lies. in the courage to keep moving forward, even when the path is unclear. Number 9. Bold actions build confidence. Confidence doesn't come from just thinking you can do something. It doesn't come from waiting until everything is perfectly aligned or until you feel 100% ready. Confidence is built through action. It's built by making bold decisions, by taking risks, by stepping into the unknown, and by proving to yourself time and time again that you are capable of more than you thought. It's not something you're born with, it's something you develop. And the fastest way to build confidence is through bold actions. Bold actions are the foundation of personal growth. Every time you do something that pushes you outside of your comfort zone, every time you take a risk, every time you make a decision that scares you a little bit, you build a little more confidence. You prove to yourself that you're stronger, smarter, and more capable than you give yourself credit for. You learn that you can handle discomfort, uncertainty, and failure. And with each new action, your confidence grows. The problem most people face is that they wait for confidence to show up before they take action. They think, once I feel more confident, then I'll go for it. Once I'm more certain, I'll take that leap. But that's the wrong way around. Confidence comes after you act, not before. You can't sit around and wait for confidence to magically appear. You have to go out and create it for yourself. The first step is always the hardest. It's always the most intimidating. But once you make that first bold move, something shifts. You realize that the worst-case scenario isn't as bad as you thought, and that failure isn't the end of the world, it's just a lesson. You realize that you're capable of far more than you imagined. That initial step is like a key that unlocks the door to a new level of confidence, and with every subsequent action, that door opens wider and wider. Bold actions create momentum. They move you forward, even when you don't feel ready. Every time you act, you reinforce the belief that you are someone who takes action. The more you take action, the more natural it becomes. It stops feeling like a leap of faith and starts feeling like a natural part of who you are. You begin to trust yourself more, and with that trust, your confidence deepens. And let's be clear, bold actions don't always mean big, dramatic moves. Boldness can come in many forms. It can be having the courage to speak up in a meeting, even when you're not sure your idea will be well received. It can be deciding to pursue a dream or a career path that seems daunting, even when you don't have all the answers. It can be taking that first step towards self-improvement, even when you're unsure of the outcome. The key is that it's something that pushes you beyond what feels comfortable, something that challenges you to grow. Confidence doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It doesn't come from staying in situations where you already know the outcome. It comes from pushing your limits, from doing things you didn't think you could do, and proving to yourself that you have what it takes. The more you face your fears and do the things that make you uncomfortable, the more you grow and the more confident you become. Failure is an inevitable part of bold actions, but it's not something to fear. In fact, failure is one of the best ways to build confidence. It teaches you resilience. It teaches you how to bounce back. It teaches you that you can take a hit and still keep going. Every failure is a stepping stone to greater confidence, because it shows you that you are capable of handling setbacks and moving forward. And when you fail, you don't have to see it as a reflection of your ability. You can see it as a lesson, an opportunity to improve and try again with more knowledge, more experience, and more strength. The more you fail, the more you learn, and the more confident you become. Bold actions teach you that failure is not something to be feared, but something to be embraced. It's a necessary part of the process, a vital part of your growth. When you take bold actions and fail, you learn that failing doesn't define you. It simply means you're one step closer to success. You learn that taking risks, making mistakes, and going after what you want are the things that build confidence, not staying safe and playing it small. Confidence also comes from taking ownership of your life and your choices. Bold actions mean that you're no longer waiting for someone else to tell you what to do or to validate your decisions. You are taking the lead. You are deciding where you want to go and how you're going to get there. Every time you take responsibility for your choices and act on them, you build confidence. You stop relying on external validation and instead you start trusting your own judgment. You begin to believe in yourself because you've proven time and time again that you are capable of taking bold steps, making decisions, and handling whatever comes your way. The more you act, the more you realize that you have the power to create your own path. That sense of empowerment feeds your confidence and helps you take even bolder actions in the future. Another crucial element in building confidence through bold actions is the mindset you cultivate. It's not about perfection or getting it right every time. It's about taking action despite the uncertainty, despite the fear, despite the mistakes. It's about knowing that every step forward is progress, no matter how small, and when you embrace that mindset, you stop holding yourself back. You stop waiting for everything to be perfect. You realize that the key to confidence is simply moving, trying, and learning as you go. When you decide to act boldly, you decide to stop waiting for things to change. You decide to take control of your life and your future. That decision to take the reins and move forward, no matter what, is the single most powerful thing you can do to build confidence. When you take bold action, you stop being a passive participant in your own life and you become the creator of your own success. Bold actions are what separate the dreamers from the doers. They're what transform aspirations into reality. And as you act, you'll discover that you're capable of far more than you ever imagined. Each bold move builds on the last, and before long you'll realize that you've built a foundation of unshakable confidence that propels you toward even greater success. Number 10. Success favors those who are willing to fail first. Success isn't a straight path. It's not a clean line from start to finish, with only progress along the way. If you look at anyone who has truly succeeded, whether in business, sports, personal development, or any field, you'll find one common thread: failure. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't whether they fail or not. It's how they handle it. Success favors those who are willing to fail first. Failure is often seen as something to be avoided, something that signals the end of a journey. But in reality, failure is a part of the process. It's a necessary step on the road to success. It's where lessons are learned, where character is built, and where resilience is formed. The people who succeed are the ones who aren't afraid to fail, who embrace the possibility of failure because they know it's not the end of the story, it's just a chapter in it. You cannot succeed without failing. It sounds counterintuitive, but think about it. How could you ever know what works without knowing what doesn't? How could you ever grow if you're only playing it safe, staying inside your comfort zone, avoiding risk at all costs? The reality is, growth happens when you step outside your comfort zone and face challenges, setbacks, and yes, failures. The more you fail, the more you learn and the faster you move toward success. The fear of failure holds so many people back. It paralyzes them. It tells them that failure is something to be avoided at all costs, but in doing so, it keeps them stuck. It keeps them from trying new things, from taking risks, from moving forward. The fear of failure is not a real threat, but a mental block that prevents progress. It convinces you that failing is a permanent state, when in fact it's temporary and part of the process. The more you embrace failure, the less power it has over you. Those who succeed know that failure is just a stepping stone. It's part of the deal. They don't let failure define them. They don't see it as something to be ashamed of, or something to be avoided at all costs. They see it for what it truly is: a learning opportunity, a moment to adjust, and a chance to come back stronger. Every time they fail, they grow. Every time they fall, they get back up. Every time things don't go as planned, they reevaluate, learn from it, and move forward with more clarity.